Hey folks, I'm JC from One Shot Adventures, and it's that time of year where I get excited to run horror adventures. And when it comes to horror, there are a few games that can beat Call of Cthulhu for rich adventures that are filled with terror, dark secrets, and Lovecraftian weirdness. In fact, I think that Call of Cthulhu has more great adventures than even Dungeons & Dragons does. Fight me in the comments below. But the sheer number of great Call of Cthulhu adventures can be intimidating for a keeper, especially if you're eager to introduce a new group of players to the chills of Call of Cthulhu role-playing. Even me, a veteran who's played Call of Cthulhu for over 30 years, I start scratching my head when I'm looking for a good one-shot to run for my players. So this video is for you GMs who are looking to run Call of Cthulhu for a new group. I'm going to talk about 5 great starter adventures to run for your friends. But before I jump into my top 5 list, I want to talk a little bit about what I think makes for a great Call of Cthulhu adventure for newer players. First, a great Call of Cthulhu adventure has a good blend of investigation, interaction with strong NPCs, and opportunities for players to explore a creepy location. These elements really separate out a horror adventure from, say, a fantasy adventure, which usually don't have as many investigation and social interactions. This one is also why, for you Call of Cthulhu veterans, you won't see an adventure like The Haunting on this list, which is all about exploring a great creepy haunted house, and it is spooky and fun, but it's missing that investigation and social element that I think makes for a truly great Call of Cthulhu experience. Second, Call of Cthulhu adventures should have real danger. A great Call of Cthulhu adventure shows no mercy when it comes to making bad decisions. An adventure exploits that by giving players agency, but if they make some poor choices along the course of the adventure, they'll be lucky to survive with their lives or sanity intact. This element separates Call of Cthulhu from many other game systems where PCs are really built to survive, they're hard to kill, and taking risks is just part of the job. Call of Cthulhu is not like that at all. And finally, a great Call of Cthulhu adventure touches on Lovecraft's mythos in some respect. Whether it's a bizarre monster from another planet or dimension, or a mystery that touches into some unfathomable primordial history, great Cthulhu adventures dive into some aspect of Lovecraft's universe of cosmic horror. All of the adventures that I've included here can easily fit into 1 or 2 sessions, something that will give your player group a taste of horror without signing them up for many sessions of adventure. Obviously, if they love Call of Cthulhu, there are plenty of long campaigns you can pick from later. I'm also going to try to keep spoilers to a minimum here, but they are here. So if you want to play in any of these adventures with zero knowledge of what's going to happen, then maybe send this video to your game master instead. All right, investigators, grab your lanterns and prepare to stare an elder god in his tentacled face, because here are my top 5 starter adventures for Call of Cthulhu. Number 5, the Cracked and Crook'd Manse. While many fans would put the classic haunted house adventure The Haunting at the top of their Cthulhu adventure list, I think that the Cracked and Crook'd Manse makes for a more terrifying, interesting experience. In this adventure, a wealthy South American explorer, Arthur Cornthwaite, has gone missing, and lawyers want to take possession of his old manor. So of course they send the investigators into the house to learn what they can about the explorer's disappearance. What they don't realize is that Arthur brought back something horrific from the jungles, and it's now occupied his home. Not only do the players get to explore a richly described mansion filled with dark secrets, ghosts, and ancient artifacts, but they also get to explore the nearby town of Gamwell, which is fully fleshed out and lets the PCs get help from various NPCs like the grumpy town sheriff, local reporters, or a helpful young librarian. And the monster that lurks inside the house is truly terrifying. It's not just a threat for the PCs themselves, but it's a real threat to the entire town and surrounding area. So if you're looking for a richly historied haunted house, look no further than the Cracked and Crook'd Manse. Number 4, Edge of Darkness. Now I'm going to jump to a true classic. Edge of Darkness is an iconic Call of Cthulhu adventure that's been included in every edition of Call of Cthulhu since 1992. It's a mainstay for a reason. It successfully boils the essence of Lovecraftian horror down into a single adventure. The adventure begins with the investigator summoned to the hospital bed of a dying man, who reveals a secret harbored for years. He left something horrible and unresolved in a decrepit old farmhouse. The players are then thrust into an unsettling investigation that uncovers the terrible consequences of meddling with occult forces. What makes Edge of Darkness truly shine is how it captures the slow burn suspense of Lovecraft's works. The investigators must piece together fragments of a mystery, and as they dig deeper, this adventure just ratchets up the tension with the looming threat of that ancient evil in the farmhouse just growing more palpable the more the players explore. And that farmhouse in Edge of Darkness is one of those great horror set pieces that I think most players who've played this adventure will remember exploring. It just does such a great job of scattering old history that ratchets up the tension as the players explore and realize that they're in over their heads, or in some cases, even losing them. Well, friends, seems to be nothing in the attic. Edge of Darkness is just such a tight adventure that has all the core elements of Call of Cthulhu: investigation, occult rituals, and mysterious forces. Oh, and for you keepers, there are some wonderful professional quality handouts that fans have made for this adventure, so do a little research on the internet and print out some of those handouts for an even more immersive experience for your players. Number 3, Deadlight. Deadlight is a modern Call of Cthulhu adventure that strands the PC's car in the middle of a freezing wilderness, and soon there's a nameless and relentless entity stalking them. The scenario plays out sort of like an indie horror film that takes place over a single night. The tension builds as the players unravel the dark secrets of various NPCs, each of whom carries their own baggage and sinister motivations. The monster in this adventure is one of those terrifying, alien, almost unstoppable creatures, and its presence just looms over every decision that the players will make. Deadlight is deeply unsettling, and it intertwines themes of guilt, madness, and the consequences of tampering with the unknown. Its structure is very sandboxy and offers the keeper significant freedom in how the story unfolds. This does put some pressure on the GM to maintain the tension and atmosphere, so I'd recommend this for GMs who had some experience running sandbox-style adventures. Deadlight also does delve into mature and disturbing themes. Some players might be uncomfortable with the subject matter here, so just make sure you read it first and run it with a group that you know pretty well. But overall, for those of you who enjoy creeping dread, moral dilemmas, and confronting the horrors of something truly unstoppable, Deadlight delivers a chilling experience that will linger with your players after the session is over. Number 2, The Dare. The Dare is a haunted house adventure with a twist. The players take on the roles of children rather than the usual adult investigators. Set in the 1980s, The Dare taps into nostalgia and that shared childhood experience that we all have of facing our fears or walking into some abandoned house, so this adventure is instantly relatable. In The Dare, the players are, dared by a bully named Roger to spend the night in a supposedly haunted Barnacle house, a challenge that no 80s kid with self-respect could say no to. However, the moment the PCs enter the Barnacle house, The Dare spirals into a night of pure terror. As the house reveals its secrets, Roger proves to be far more than he originally seemed, and worse, the PCs discover that it's home to a terrifying and truly grotesque witch who craves children for their next meal. In my experience, The Dare's nostalgic setup of 80s kids just makes it fun the moment the players sit down on the table. And because the horror just ratchets up so fast, there's almost no downtime in this adventure at all. The adventure really does such a great job of blending playful fun and grisly horror into a single great Call of Cthulhu experience. Number 1, The Auction. The Auction is an older Call of Cthulhu adventure set against the backdrop of 1930s Vienna, a city filled with elegance and shadowy secrets not long before World War II. The players are invited to an exclusive auction featuring rare and occult items, each of which carries its own shadowy secret. The atmosphere starts as one of intrigue, but tension mounts as occult collectors and mysterious bidders start vying for the artifacts on display. But the auction is soon interrupted by murder. Murder in a Call of Cthulhu adventure! Was it a deep one? Well, by murdered, I mean somebody's been torn apart, dismembered, and peanut buttered across an entire room. But what happens next is an investigation across the entire city of Vienna, as the players try to track down both the murderer as well as the powerful artifacts stolen from the auction house during the crime. Players have a range of suspects to interrogate, each has their own motivations and potential ties to the occult. What makes the auction particularly special is the amount of agency given to players. The PCs must use their intellect, investigative skills, and social savvy to navigate the adventure's mysteries. The scenario builds steadily towards a confrontation with the ghoulish entities responsible for the killing. It blends mystery, suspense, and supernatural horror in just the right measure, I think. Now, if you do decide to run this adventure, I suggest you look up some tips on how to run the auction itself so it doesn't become overly repetitive bidding on lots of items before the terror starts. There's also some wonderful props for this adventure that you can download. I'll put a link in the description below, but I've even seen a GM 3D print a horrifying brazen head, which is one of the main artifacts featured at the auction, which just adds wonders to the immersion of this adventure. So if you're looking for a city-spanning mystery, check out The Auction. And finally, 2 honorable mentions. This list was really hard to create. There are so many great adventures for new players in Call of Cthulhu, so I wanted to fit these last 2 in somehow. The first honorable mention goes to Tatterdemalion, an older adventure that is fantastic for new groups if you're an experienced game master. In this adventure, a down-on-his-luck playwright hosts a masquerade party at his house. During the party, guests start showing up dead, and it turns out the playwright plans on concluding the evening running the cursed play, The King in Yellow. Did he say he's putting on The King in Yellow later? Ugh, I'd rather see cats again. This is a classic text in the Cthulhu mythos that drives people into utter madness when they see it. Oh, The King in Yellow is better than I thought. That gives me an idea. Strong characters, chaotic events, and even a trip into another dimension makes this adventure a shining star for new players, as long as you as a GM are prepared to juggle multiple NPCs, invent a house layout that will delight and confuse your players, and weave all the plot threads together for a strong finale. It's very open-ended, but if you pull this off, it just features all of the elements that you'd want in a Lovecraftian Call of Cthulhu adventure. And for you GMs looking to delight brand new role players, like maybe even people who haven't played Dungeons & Dragons before, be sure to check out the Lightless Beacon. This is a very short adventure which can easily be run in just a couple of hours. The investigators escape a sinking ship and take shelter on a lonely island occupied by a single malfunctioning lighthouse. Soon, they find out that the lighthouse keeper is dead and the island is swarming with nightmares from the deep. They're hunting for stolen cursed gold. And what follows is a short, tight, tense adventure that challenges the PCs to survive against some pretty terrible odds. But if you think that your players will enjoy a classic horror setting, an abandoned lighthouse, constant danger from like the minute they get there, and very low odds of survival, then dare them to visit the Lightless Beacon. And those are some of my favorite starter adventures for Call of Cthulhu. Special thanks to Keeper Jeff, my Call of Cthulhu convention partner, on help creating this list, as well as the Facebook Cthulhu group who had so many contributions to add to this list. It's truly amazing how many different adventures came up when I asked the question, what's your favorite starter adventure for Call of Cthulhu? Well, if you've played or run in any of these adventures, let me know in the comments below what your experience was like. Or if you think I missed a great starter adventure, well, mention that too. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel because honestly, that's the only thing that will save you from the tentacles of the Elder Gods. Until next time, I'm JC, and just remember, no matter what Call of Cthulhu adventure you might be playing in, just be real careful when you walk up into the attic.